In this video, we're going to talk about how to calculate inventory turnover. Now, why is this important? Well, what could be more important than selling your inventory? So we've got some kind of retailer or something that has significant amount of inventory and they got to move it off the shelves. You've got to move that inventory. And the faster you can move it, the more times you can just, you put a product on the shelf, you sell it, you put a new product on the shelf and you just keep selling it and selling it. The more you can turn over your inventory, the better. Especially, this is particularly important, turnover, when you have a low profit margin. When we think of some retailers, or particularly grocery stores have very, very thin profit margins, very low profits. So what do they have to do? If they only make 1 or 2 cents on every dollar of sales, then they have to have a lot of sales. They have to constantly be turning the inventory over and over. Just keep selling that inventory, getting it off the shelves and moving it. And the companies that can do that the best and the fastest are the ones that are going to survive in that kind of environment. So let's think of we've got the formula here for calculating inventory turnover. And basically we're just going to take cost of goods sold and divide it by the average inventory for the period. So that's not that difficult. Let's put some numbers to this and let's work through an example. So we've got some beginning inventory, and let's say that's $2,500. And then we need to know the ending inventory. And we'll say that the ending inventory, let's say that's $3,350. And now we need to know the cost of goods sold. So let's say we'll just abbreviate it, COGS. Our COGS is $14,700. Now we get the cost of goods sold, of course, from the income statement, and the inventories would come from the balance sheet. So let's go ahead and let's start working this out. So we're going to have cost of goods sold divided by average inventory. But wait a minute. We don't have average inventory here. We're going to have to calculate it. So let's calculate average inventory. So how do we calculate that? Well, we just add up the beginning and the ending inventories and divide it by 2. So we take the 2,500 plus 3,350. Just divide that whole thing by 2. And what is that going to yield? Let's see here. Let's scroll down, get a little more. What is that going to yield? 29.25. So our average inventory is $2,925. That's our average inventory. So now we just plug in. So our turnover is going to be, let's see here, inventory turnover is going to be 14.7 divided by this average inventory, 29.25. And what does that yield? Well, rounded, that yields 5.03. Now, what does this mean? What does this mean? This means that we're turning over our inventory 5.03 times a year. About 5 times a year, we turn over our inventory. So we just think of some product A. We take product A, we put it on the shelf, we sell it, and then we replace it with another product A, we sell it. We do that 5 times every year. So here's another way to think about it. Here's another way to think about this. Well, what we can do is we can say, okay, well, there's 365 days in a year. And so if we take those 365 days and then we divide that by our turnover of 5.03, so let's put that in there. What does that give us? Well, that gives us 72.6, which we'll just go ahead and round to 73. And it's 73 days. What does this mean? Now, so that means that every 73 days we sell product A. So we can think of it as we turn it over 5 times a year that we sell that product, or we can think of it every 73 days we sell it once. Now we can compare that to our competitors. We can look, let's say you're an investor though. Let's forget about let's say you're an investor and you see that one firm is 73 days and then another firm is 58. Well, what does that tell you? Does that necessarily mean that the 58 one is a much better firm? Well, not necessarily. It might be the firm that has 73 days, maybe they have a lot higher profit margins. Or maybe they're selling some kind of big ticket item. But if you're selling substantially the same items, and if we're comparing apples to apples here, and there's really nothing else that's different except these two numbers, then you conclude that, okay, this company's doing a lot better job of moving its inventory. It's getting this stuff on the shelves, and then it's getting it sold and getting it off the shelves in a consumer's hands, and then it's putting a new product on the shelf to be sold again.